Kickoff Safety Zone Expansion. The NFL's most dangerous play just got another overhaul. In 2025, the league expanded the safety buffer zone on kickoffs from 5 yards to 7 yards between the return and coverage teams. This change comes after data showed a 12% reduction in concussions since the 2023 kickoff redesign. But the competition committee wanted more. The extra 2 yards gives returners slightly more time to identify lanes and reduces high-speed collisions. Teams are still using the same alignment, 5 players on each side of the field. No running starts for coverage teams. But that extra cushion is making a difference. Special teams coordinators are already adapting, with more teams using directional kicks to pin returners against the sideline where that 7-yard buffer becomes less meaningful. The Chiefs and Ravens were early adopters in preseason, using angled kicks to neutralize elite returners. It's a chess match that's still evolving, but the days of kamikaze kickoff coverage are officially over.
Quarterback push ban. Targeting rule implementation. College football's most controversial rule has finally come to the NFL. Starting in 2025, players who commit egregious helmet-to-helmet hits can now be ejected for targeting after replay review. Unlike the college rule, which has been criticized for its rigidity, the NFL version requires clear intent or flagrant disregard for player safety. The penalty is 15 yards plus potential ejection. But here's the key difference from college. Players ejected in the first half of a game can return in the second half. This compromise came after intense negotiation between the league and Players Association. The rule has already made an impact in preseason, with 3 ejections across 49 games. Defensive backs are adjusting their tackling technique, aiming lower and wrapping up rather than launching. Veteran safety Tyrann Mathieu called it the biggest adjustment of my career, while others like Minkah Fitzpatrick have criticized the rule as making defense nearly impossible to play at full speed. The true test will come in regular season games when intensity and stakes are higher.
Overtime possession guarantee. The NFL's overtime format has changed again, and this time both teams are guaranteed a possession regardless of what happens first. This rule was already in place for playoff games after the Bills lost to the Chiefs in that 2022 divisional round thriller, where Josh Allen never touched the ball in overtime. Now it applies to regular season games too. Here's how it works. Even if the first team scores a touchdown, the second team gets a possession. If they match the touchdown, play continues in sudden death. If they fail to match, game over. The twist? If the game remains tied after each team has had a possession, it reverts to sudden death where any score wins. The change addresses the coin toss advantage. Since 2017, teams winning the overtime coin toss won 63% of games. But it also creates new strategic decisions. Do you take the ball first or defer? Analytics teams are split, with some arguing you should defer to know exactly what you need, while others prefer the psychological advantage of scoring first. The Ravens and Chiefs both chose to defer in preseason overtime situations, perhaps setting a new trend. Onside kick alternative. The NFL has finally introduced a true alternative to the onside kick, addressing the dramatic decline in recovery rates since the 2018 kickoff safety changes. Teams trailing in the fourth quarter now have a one-time option to attempt a 4th and 20 play from their own 30-yard line instead of kicking off. If they convert, they maintain possession. If they fail, the opposing team takes over at the spot of the ball. This option is only available to teams trailing in the fourth quarter and can only be used once per game. The 4th and 20 alternative was chosen after extensive testing in the Pro Bowl and preseason games. The league considered shorter distances, but settled on 20 yards as the sweet spot that gives the trailing team a legitimate chance without making it too easy. Historical data suggests teams convert 4th and 20 about 16.4% of the time, slightly higher than the current onside kick recovery rate of 13.2%. Early adopters like the Chiefs and Bills have already developed specific packages for this situation, with Travis Kelce calling it the most exciting new rule in years. Game clock operation changes. The NFL has made subtle but significant changes to how the game clock operates in 2025. First, the clock now stops on first downs only in the final 2 minutes of each half, rather than after every first down as in college. This hybrid approach preserves the 2-minute drill drama while keeping overall game times in check. Second, incomplete passes and plays that end out of bounds no longer stop the clock outside of the final 2 minutes of each half and overtime. Instead, the clock pauses until the ball is spotted, then restarts. These changes aim to address the league's concern about game length, which averaged 3 hours and 8 minutes last season. The NFL projects these changes will eliminate about 10 plays per game and reduce game time by approximately 12 minutes. The impact on strategy is significant. Teams can no longer rely on clock stoppages for free timeouts during most of the game. Hurry-up offenses like the Bills and Bengals have been practicing with these new rules all offseason, developing modified tempos that account for the clock changes.
Defensive holding, automatic first down removal. One of the most criticized automatic first down penalties has been modified. Crackback block elimination. One of football's most dangerous blocks is now completely illegal. The crackback block, where a receiver or tight end comes back toward the line of scrimmage to block an unsuspecting defender, has been further restricted in 2025. Previously, these blocks were illegal only if they targeted the head or neck area, or if they came from the blind side with forcible contact. Now, any block by a receiver moving toward his own end line against a defender is illegal, regardless of the contact point or angle. The penalty remains 15 yards, but the standard for calling it has been significantly lowered. This change comes after data showed that despite previous restrictions, crackback-style blocks were still causing knee and ankle injuries at an alarming rate. The 49ers, who built their running game around receivers making key blocks, voted against the change, as did 5 other teams. Kyle Shanahan has already been redesigning his blocking schemes, using more influence blocks, where receivers simply get in defenders' way rather than initiating forceful contact. Sideline discipline enforcement. The NFL is cracking down on sideline overcrowding with new, stricter enforcement. Starting in 2025, teams will receive an automatic 5-yard penalty if coaches or players enter the white border area around the field during play. A second violation increases to 15 yards, and a third can result in coach ejection. This change comes after several high-profile incidents, including the Ravens-Chiefs playoff game where John Harbaugh was nearly run over by an official while standing too close to the field. The league has also standardized the sideline restricted area to be exactly 6 feet from the sideline in all stadiums. Teams are now limited to 25 credentialed non-players on the sideline, down from the previous limit of 35. Each team must designate a sideline manager responsible for compliance, typically a lower-level assistant coach. Preseason enforcement has been strict, with 17 warnings and 3 penalties called across the first 2 weeks of games. Sean McVay, known for his sideline enthusiasm, called the new rule "something I'll definitely struggle with," after receiving 2 warnings in a single preseason game. Illegal formation simplification. The NFL has finally addressed one of its most technical and inconsistently called penalties. The new illegal formation rule simplifies what constitutes a legal offensive setup. Previously, offensive tackles needed to be covered up by having part of their helmet break the waistline of the center. This led to countless ticky-tack penalties and confusion. Now, tackles simply need to be positioned behind the center's waistline, a much clearer visual standard for officials. Additionally, receivers no longer need to check with officials to confirm they're on the line of scrimmage. Instead, they must simply have 1 foot breaking the waistline of the center. This change comes after illegal formation penalties increased 43% over the past 3 seasons, including several high-profile calls that negated touchdowns. The simplification should reduce penalties and confusion, though some defensive coaches have complained it gives offenses even more flexibility in their formations. The Bengals and Dolphins, 2 teams that use pre-snap motion heavily, should benefit most from this change. Expanded injured reserve returns.
The NFL's injured reserve rules continue to evolve, and in 2025, teams can now bring back an unlimited number of players from IR during the season. This replaces the previous limit of 8 returns per team. The only restriction? Each individual player can only be designated to return twice in a season, and they must still miss a minimum of 4 games before being eligible to return. This change acknowledges the physical reality of football and gives teams more roster flexibility. It's particularly beneficial for smaller market teams that might not have the depth of talent to withstand multiple injuries at key positions. The expanded IR rule pairs with the practice squad remaining at 16 players, with 6 spots available for veterans of any experience level. Together, these changes give teams unprecedented roster flexibility. The Packers and Bengals pushed hardest for this change after both teams were decimated by injuries last season and ran out of return designations by Week 12. Helmet communication expansion. The NFL's communication system just got a major upgrade. Since 2008, only one defensive player has been allowed radio communication with coaches. Now, in 2025, teams can designate 2 defensive players to receive signals simultaneously. The change addresses a long-standing complaint from defensive coordinators who lost their signal caller to injury and had to revert to hand signals. The second radio helmet is marked with a green dot, just like the primary one, and both can be active simultaneously. There's a catch, though. Only one can be on the field at a time. This forces defensive coordinators to choose their signal callers strategically. Most teams are designating a linebacker and safety, allowing them to maintain communication regardless of personnel packages. The Ravens are taking it further, using cornerback Marlon Humphrey as their secondary communicator, believing his field vision gives them an edge in relay calls. The technology remains the same, a one-way communication system that cuts off with 15 seconds left on the play clock. But the strategic implications are already reshaping defensive coordination. Expanded replay for roughing the passer. The most subjective penalty in football just got a major overhaul. Starting in 2025, all roughing the passer calls are now automatically reviewed by the replay booth in the final 2 minutes of each half and in overtime. Outside those windows, coaches can challenge roughing calls using one of their existing challenge flags. This change comes after several high-profile controversies, including the phantom roughing call that changed the outcome of the Chiefs-Bills divisional playoff game last January. The league isn't expanding what constitutes roughing. The rules about hitting quarterbacks high, low, or late remain the same, but now there's a safety net against the worst calls. The catch? Only called penalties can be reviewed. If officials miss a roughing infraction entirely, replay can't step in. Early results from preseason show reviews taking an average of 47 seconds, and about 22% of challenged roughing calls have been overturned. Defensive coordinators are celebrating, while quarterbacks have been surprisingly quiet about the change. By the way, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so it would mean a lot if you subscribed and dropped a like for the algorithm. The tush push is dead. After 3 seasons of controversy, the NFL finally banned the quarterback push play that the Eagles rode to a Super Bowl appearance and countless short yardage conversions. The new rule specifically prohibits offensive players from pushing, pulling, or assisting the ball carrier in any way. The penalty? 5 yards and replay of down. What makes this rule change fascinating is how directly it targeted one team's signature play. The Eagles converted over 90% of their QB sneaks with the push technique since 2022, while the league average hovered around 75%. Jason Kelce, now retired, was the key blocker who perfected the technique of lifting Jalen Hurts from behind, while offensive linemen created the initial surge. Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie fought hard against the change, arguing that innovation shouldn't be penalized. But 24 owners voted for the ban, easily clearing the required 2/3 majority. The Eagles' response? They've been testing a new short yardage package in preseason, featuring multiple tight ends and misdirection. The chess match continues.
Defensive holding no longer results in an automatic first down. Instead, it's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot with the down repeated. This addresses a long-standing complaint about the disproportionate impact of defensive holding calls on 3rd and long situations. Previously, a defensive hold on 3rd and 25 would give the offense a first down, despite the infraction having little impact on the play's outcome. Now, that same penalty would result in 3rd and 20. Still a significant advantage for the offense, but not a drive saver. The change doesn't apply to defensive pass interference, which still results in both a spot foul and automatic first down. Defensive coaches universally praised this change, with Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin calling it the most sensible rule adjustment in years. Offensive coordinators have already adjusted, designing more rub routes and pick plays on 3rd and long situations to draw more impactful pass interference calls instead. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so it would mean a lot if you subscribed. Thanks for watching.